What's up, guys? Movie Buff. Gonna talk about a movie called Don't Let Go. It's a Blumhouse movie, so I mean, this movie's made for pennies. It's probably gonna do pretty decent at the box office. The precipice is basically like this officer. He has this niece, and the niece has the family, and her family. The dad was like he got in trouble for drugs and stuff, so he was obviously like kind of like out on parole, like trying to be good and stuff. And the movie sets up to where it looks kind of like a drug deal went wrong and everyone was slaughtered, everyone was killed. His brother was killed, his wife was killed, and his niece was killed. So like this cop is just like in this huge depression and this turmoil. Anyways, his phone's ringing, and it's his niece, and it shows a picture of her. It's like it's her phone. He's like, what the, and he answers it, and it's her. And he's like, how is it? Like, he just, and the movie does kind of a poor job on him, like, catching on, bro. Like, it's her voice, it's her. Like, we realize, like, she's dead, but, bro, it's her voice. Like, she's on the phone talking to you. Like, it's obviously her. And the movie does a poor job of that. He's like, what's going on? What? Who is this? Where are you calling from? That was badly done. But anyways, he kind of like goes over to her house, and he's like talking to her, and he's kind of like, every time she calls, he gets a little bit more information. And, she has to go, or whatever, he has to go, or they lose a connection. So they've got like this weird connection. And so he keeps like getting a little bit more information from her each time he calls. And he realizes that he is like 3 or 4 days ahead of her in his time. And if he can give her the clues, or he can get enough information on to find out, like, who committed this murder, he can stop this from happening in her time. And if it stops it in her time, then his time is going to be different. And, it kind of does a little bit of a weird thing to where it's like, it doesn't really explain like how this connection is like brought on, and like how did it happen. It doesn't ever explain that. And he even like dies, and you're like, okay, like weird. And then he like comes back, and it doesn't explain nothing. It doesn't go into detail. He's just back. And so he obviously is like in this loop of time. And so he's trying his hardest to figure out who is responsible through the clues that he's getting from his niece on each one of these little calls. So each one of these calls, he gets more information from the case. And he's a cop, obviously, so he's building a case and everything. And, he's got this partner, and he's got everyone is around him. He feels like he's going crazy, and he kind of even feels like he's going crazy. But he knows it's real because, like, it's her, and she verifies it through all this, ways of verifying besides the fact that it's obviously her. You can hear it in her voice, and it's this little, she has a very notable voice. It's obvious that, there's not a game being played on him or anything, which, I mean, that's kind of like his face and part of most of the movie. He's just like, what's going on? So you're like, dude, get it together. You're like, this is what's happening. You're in a time loop. Figure it out. And once the movie kind of goes on from that, you're like, okay, like, here we go. And the rest of the movie was pretty entertaining. It was a pretty decent storyline, a pretty decent plot. Like I said, there was a lot of plot holes. It doesn't ever explain how or why this connection is done. And then he just comes back to life from dead. And you're just like, okay, cool. Do you have superpower? What's going on? But besides that, it was pretty decent. I'm not mad I went to see it, but I'm not happy I went to see it either. I'm not like overjoyed. I'm not going to go out and tell people about this like I would like if I saw Endgame or something for the first time. So it's definitely not a water cooler movie for me, but it was worth watching. I would consider it to be more like a Netflix movie. It didn't have huge production value. Like I said, it was made by Blumhouse, but they just crank these movies out like candy, and they're just making billions of dollars for these movies that they're making for chump change. So, they're making movies for what they can find in a sofa now, and making millions off of them. So It wasn't ever intended to be a blockbuster, but for what it was pretty decent. I mean, like I said, if it was me, I mean, I didn't pay for this movie, but if I would have, I wouldn't have been like disappointed, but it wasn't like a life-changing experience either. So I would probably wait for this like to come out on DVD, maybe one of the streaming services, HBO, something like that, then catch it. It's really not worth the 15-20 bucks you got to go pay to see it in the movie. So they can't all be winners, guys, but at least it wasn't a stink bomb. Until next time, guys, see you at the movies.